So I don't know where this recording is, but it exists somewhere. I'm going to do a new one and call it Mind. And these are morning thoughts, July 6th, 2026. What do I want here? Editing, tools, lines. Maybe not lines. Draw. Here we are. 2, test. Okay, the importance of understanding how your mind works. If you don't understand how your mind works, you're going to have a hard time doing anything. And I don't think anybody is born just knowing how their mind works. And learning how your mind works teaches you how to control your mind, which in turn teaches you how to control yourself. So I think maybe we'll call this one How to Control Yourself. Because that's ultimately what we want to do. If we can learn to control ourselves, we can control everything in our lives. How to control yourself. And what does that mean? Yourself. Who is your and who is self? What is self? So these get to deeper spiritual beliefs, and we're not going to get into that part. We're just going to talk about how the mind operates and how it is hooked up to the body. A fundamental premise I do believe is that I am a spiritual being. I believe that to be the truth, so I'm actually going to frame it this way. We are spiritual beings, so we are not physical. We are spiritual, and we live in physical bodies. So you are not your body, you have a body. It's something like that. So the first thing is, if you think about your mind, a lot of people get an image of the brain, and that's not what I mean by the mind. There's an image of the mind that can be worked with systematically that makes a lot of sense, and it's very, very simple. So we're going to start with drawing the image of the mind so that everyone has the same image and we know what we're talking about or what I'm referring to when I say the mind. So let this represent the mind. And then let this represent the body. The body is what we've given all our attention to up to now. Focused on result, focused on symptoms. But if we can focus on the mind is split into two parts. There's an upper half and a lower half, and the upper half is the conscious mind, and the lower half is the subconscious mind. And you can actually further split the conscious mind into two parts of its own. You've got inductive reasoning and you've got deductive reasoning. I'm not sure if it's going to be worth using this eraser. It's not what I wanted. Maybe not. It's all right. You've got inductive reasoning and deductive reasoning. We're going to keep that in the back of our minds for now. So the first thing is, here we are, we exist in our body with a mind. So again, we are not our body and we are not our mind. We are spiritual beings that have been gifted an intellect, and we've been gifted the physical body we live in. Now, how do you control the mind? How do you control the mind, and why is that important to be able to control your mind? Well, first of all, if you are not in control, then who is? Who and or what is in control of your life? And if it's not you, if you ask me, that's a suboptimal answer. If you're not in control of your life, that is a scary way to live. So I think ultimately everyone's goal is something along the lines of being able to control themselves and to live their dreams. Basically, I think we can all live our dreams. And it starts with learning how to control your mind. So here's the mind, here's the body, and it's the body that actually goes out and acts and gives you the results you get in your life. So let that R represent your results. If you're not happy with your results, you don't want to change what you're doing. You have to go back to the source and think about, what is it you're thinking? What's your attitude? Attitude is nothing but your thoughts, feelings, and actions. So let's think through. Here we are existing in the world, and we have perception. We have the ability to decide how we are going to view things. Everything is just flowing into us, and as it does, it just is. Everything just is, and we decide if we're going to put a negative or a positive perspective on it. So everything just is, and it's flowing into our consciousness. And remember, we think in pictures. Here we are, as everything is flowing into us, we have the decision: are we going to see the negative side of things or the positive side of things? And guess what? Everything has a negative point of view and a positive point of view, negative perspective and positive perspective. And it has to be that way. It couldn't possibly be any other way. You couldn't have one without the other. How could you have an up without a down? How could you have an in without an out? How can you have a right without a wrong? So here we are thinking through everything that gets presented to us. We have the decision if we're going to make it a negative thing or a positive thing. If we choose negative, well, we are acting on ignorance. Ignorance just means you don't know something. Ignorance, you don't know. Some people use the word ignorant when they should be using the word rude. Not everyone's rude, but everyone is ignorant. We just don't know some things. And if you are ignorant, that's going to cause you to think thoughts of worry and doubt. You don't know how you're going to reach your goal. You don't know what to do next. You don't know how to move forward. And that sets up these thoughts of worry and doubt. And that sets up an emotional experience called fear. Fear has to be expressed the only way it can be expressed, through this thing, the physical body. And we call that anxiety. Anxiety, we treat with medication, we treat with Valium, we treat with all these medications that are treating a symptom. Fear is not the cause, worry is not the cause, ignorance is the cause of anxiety. So how do you fix it? It's very basic and very simple. How do you cure the problem of ignorance? You study. You study and you build knowledge. And through knowledge, we develop understanding. And through understanding, you set up an emotional state quite opposite to fear. You set up an emotional state called faith. Faith is expressed through the physical body as health, wealth, prosperity, abundance of a good thing. This is where we want to be. We want to choose the positive side. That's basically the overall point of this video, is we get to choose, well, with any idea that is presented to us, we have just one of three choices. We can choose to accept the idea, we can choose to reject the idea, and we can choose to neglect the idea. And please, don't accept, don't reject, and don't neglect just any idea. But what I will say is this: only a fool would not take a new idea and kick that idea around and play with it and see and ask themselves, will this idea improve the results in my life? If it will, you have to act on the idea. And if it won't, it's going to take you in the opposite direction over here. So it all goes back to the root, and that is pay attention. I think that's maybe one of the most important things, is be conscious. Pay attention. Something I learned from a sermon from a really great pastor named Andy Stanley. He says, pay attention to the tension. That discomfort in your life. Something that makes you uncomfortable. Whether it's your conscience, whether it's physical pain, physical suffering. Pay attention to the tension. Pay attention. And then make a choice. You choose. Choose to see the bright side. Choose to be positive. And this leads to you studying, observing the situation, building brain cells, building knowledge. And through knowledge, you gain understanding of the situation. Understanding sets up an emotional state called faith. And then again, faith gives you that health, whatever it is in your area, whatever area of your life you want it. Health, wealth, prosperity, physical health, mental health, physical abundance. Choose positive, and then I guess if there's 3 steps, first pay attention, then choose positive, then let go, let God. I think that's going to be it for today. I wanted to keep it fairly brief, and maybe I'll come back and do this one again, but I hope this is a pretty good foundational video, and obviously there's maybe a lot going on in a short amount of time here. So what I would mostly recommend is go over to the You Were Born Rich seminar on YouTube. I'll put a link to that playlist in the description of this video. And I highly, highly recommend anyone trying to achieve anything in their life go and watch that seminar and basically just watch it on repeat over and over for the rest of your life. I mean, it's a commitment, but it's like once you start doing it, you start practicing the ideas they teach, and you start reaping some of the rewards, you wouldn't want to live any other way. So I think I have to credit a huge part of the success I find in any area of my life. I have to credit the You Were Born Rich seminar. One point on faith, when I was at the gym today, I was sitting under a bar with 75 pounds loaded on it. So it's like 75 total pounds on this bar. And I'm doing shoulder press. And I'm thinking, wow, I have to have an awful lot of faith to just sit under this bar and believe that this machine is going to hold the bar. It's not going to break or malfunction, and it's just going to hold the weight above my head. It's not going to come crashing down and crush my head. And I have to have faith because I could never prove that it's not going to fall down and crush my head. I have evidence based on reliability that it's not going to. The machine was built by professionals, and these machines are built strong and with a purpose, and part of the purpose is to hold the weight up. And through all my years of going to the gym, I've never seen a Smith machine just drop the weight. So I have to give credit to evidence based on reliability, but it's not proof. I could never prove that it's never going to fall. It's something that could happen. It's just a very low probability that it's going to happen. So that's how things operate in the trading world as well. I could never prove that institutions are getting trapped and behaving in the way that I'm explaining on a chart. But when I'm talking through a chart, I'm trying to make sense of the data that I see on the chart. And I talk it through in a way that makes sense to me, that seems logical. It's based on reason. And I know that all institutions that are earning money consistently are trading based on ideas, based on statistical research and math and logic, reason. They're acting in their own best interest with a mathematical edge. So as long as I'm thinking things through from a logical point of view, believing that there's a buyer and seller on every tick, and that trapped traders leads to disappointment, and disappointment gives fuel for second legs, And the evidence is that most breakouts, like 80% of breakouts, get second legs equal in size to the signal in the direction of the signal before pulling back 150%. Once you see that that is the evidence, you're not going to want to act in any other way. You're unable to unsee it. I've rambled on long enough. I hope this video was helpful. I know the production value is pretty lame. It's not a high quality video, but hopefully the information was helpful and it can help you to reach your goals. So thanks everybody for watching, and I'll talk to everybody soon.